Ready, aim, fire.
Welcome to Live with Sensei. I'm your host, Jay Haynes, for the Film Sensei YouTube channel. In this fourth episode of Season 2, I am delighted to be hosting my good friend, Jamie from Film Empire. Jamie is an aspiring filmmaker, and he appeared on my roundtable discussion with a group of young aspiring filmmakers a few weeks ago. I have known Jamie for a long time, since he was a young teenager, and I even had the honor of being in one of his short films, which was called Then. Before I bring him on, I want to give a few shout outs, so please do me a favor and leave a comment in the chat room so I can recognize who is in the house tonight. Also, if you have a question for Jamie, please feel free to ask away. Before we begin, I would like to remind everyone about my new Udemy class, the Absolute Beginner's Course on HitFilm Express. If you would like to learn everything there is to know about the free version of HitFilm Express with no add-ons, this is the course for you. Even if you're a beginner with absolutely no experience, you can quickly and easily learn all of the powerful features and benefits of this amazing free software. All of the information, as well as the very best price to purchase this course, is on my website, which is jhaynes.com. There's a link in the description of this video for those of you who are watching this after the fact. And let me go ahead and post a link in the chat room right now for those of you who are watching live. And let me see here. We're going to jump. Oh, also, one more thing. Don't forget that at the end of this broadcast, I will be announcing who will be in next week's show. Stay tuned for that. I am very excited. It's going to be really, really cool. And at this time, I'm going to go ahead and bring in my special guest, Jamie. How are you?
Hey, how have you been doing? I'm doing fine. Thank you.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah.
I want everybody to know Jamie's channel is Film Empire. And let me just bring that up. This is Film Empire. And I'm going to go ahead and there's a link in the description to that.
You can find it youtube.com/filmempire. It's the easiest way to remember.
And I am posting it in the chat room as well.
Yes.
And so there it is, right? Jamie has all kinds of tutorials and short films and live demonstrations of different things that he does in his channel. It's very cool. Jamie, how did you start? When did you start your channel, and what was it all about to begin with?
Okay, so for only filmmaking or the actual origins of the channel?
Let's start with the original origins of the channel.
The original origins. Okay, so I think I started the original channel. Let me see here. So the actual channel itself was created in 2010, but I think I originally started uploading in around 2011, and that was for a video game. Actually, I created a sort of series about a video game called Kerbal Space Program. It's about creating rockets and launching them into space, and that was the first interaction I had with creating episodic work, bringing something out every once in a while. It was very simple, literally just clips imported into Windows Movie Maker, stitched together. And then my channel had a few changes throughout the years. I did some other stuff in the meantime, came back to Kerbal Space Program, and then I jumped into the creation of Film Empire. And that's where we are today.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
So it has gone through a few iterations. Did you remove the old videos after you?
I did, and it's kind of a shame because I would have wanted them to be on unlisted or something, because there was some stuff on there that is somewhere on an old hard drive that I can't access anymore. So that's a shame. There's some stuff in there that I would have wanted to see again. Yeah.
Oh yeah. You could make those private or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah, but I don't think I did.
Yeah.
I don't think I did.
They're definitely not publicly on the channel.
No, they are not. No, the first video you can see on there, uploaded 3 years ago. That's that's the first ever episode of the channel we know today.
Right, which is Film Empire, but the channel's 10 years old, right?
Yeah, it's since the original channel itself was May 24th, 2010. So we're nearing its 10th
Almost.
anniversary. Yeah.
Almost. Well, let's do a few shout outs here. Let's see. And Ivan says you have made a podcast on his channel. I can see.
That's true. Yeah, we had a podcast on there. On my channel, I have 2 episodes of that. It was it's something I would like to do again, but in the shape it was now, I feel there is some room for improvement. But it was very nice having you on, having a discussion somewhat like we have now.
Right.
I think that was
Except it
nice.
wasn't
Yeah.
live.
No,
So
indeed.
if we messed up, you could make cuts and things like that, which was really nice.
Yeah, which I don't think we did, but it was possible. Yeah.
Let me see. 4H is here. Terry started on the orb tutorials part 1, making Mars. Ooh, I'd love to see that. That'd be awesome.
That's fancy. Yeah, that's amazing.
Dafter Things. Tony is here. Hi everybody. Hi Tony. It's good to see you. And would this be Scythe? Scythe Z7 is here. It's good to have you, sir or ma'am. Probably a sir, it looks like. Terry says we have a weird echo going on. Does anybody else hear that? Because if we do, I probably know why.
He fixed it. It says 2 comments later that he fixed it. It's probably something. I couldn't hear an echo on your side, so we're probably good here.
All right. If there is an echo, let me know because I can be happy to get rid of it. Let me see. And there's the Film Empire. Aha, Papa, so good to see Jamie. Was wondering where he had gone, missing your channel.
Yeah, that's I've been away for quite a time. I think the last video was 10 months ago. There's an explanation to that. I've been very busy with a lot of my personal life, with work, with other stuff. I would really like to start uploading again. Probably not every week, but maybe like once a month or so. That would be nice. That would give me the opportunity to create some perhaps longer content or content with more production value to it, more time put into that. That is definitely something that I am interested in doing, in creating hit film tutorials, maybe adding in some cinematic stuff in there, creating like yeah, like some really nice videos. That's what I want to do in the near future.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I noticed that you know, you got something growing here.
Exactly.
I mentioned to you, I thought maybe you had gone off your medication there. You know, you got something. Maybe you ought to think about trying to get back on that.
Yeah. Getting back on there. I'll make sure that it's fixed for the next video.
All right. Let me see. Solo Samurai Productions is in the house. Good to have you. And Papa says, I hope you had a great Christmas and a super new year. Well, best wishes from the UK.
Yeah, same to all of you in the live stream. I hope you had some very wonderful holidays, and I wish you guys a very good new year. Yeah.
Yep, I'm in the United States. Most people probably know that, but you're in the Netherlands, right?
I am. Yeah. Some 4,000 miles away from you.
Or we just looked it up because we were amazed at how smooth our discussion was between us. We could literally high five each other here, right?
It's this way, yeah.
From 4,000 miles away and not have any problems, no lag or anything. So it's great.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Terry, a high-tech expert here. That's what it was. All right. Sounds good, sir. Does anybody have any questions for Jamie? Please ask them in the comments. In the meantime, I will ask you, are you a guy who likes to watch movies more or television shows?
Oh, that's a very good question. Television shows, definitely. Yeah, that's a very quick answer. Surprisingly, for a guy that does a lot of work with video and YouTube and that kind of stuff, I rarely watch any movies. I rarely go out to the cinemas. I don't have Netflix or anything like that. So the stuff that I enjoy the most is some of the content that BBC puts out, like these crime document or these crime fiction series. They have some amazing stuff and some plot lines that I think are amazing, and that's what hooks me on the most. Having different episodes where you're hooked onto each episode every time again. I think it's very interesting to see how they, instead of having a story in one movie, they're able to split it up and create a cliffhanger each time. I think it's very interesting to see how they do that. Yeah.
Yeah, there's that's the beauty of television shows, is that you can have an arc, that you follow, and you have these characters that evolve over time. And I mean, you have an arc in a movie too, but you can really move people through their life.
And the thing is, if you have a movie, it's probably an hour and a half to 2 hours long, right? And there are some TV series that have episodes of an hour each, and they have multiple episodes. So you have more screen time for the same story. And I think there aren't a lot of people that would watch a movie of 8 hours long, but there are people that would watch 8 different episodes of an hour. So you're able to create more content in the same story.
Right. So what is your favorite television show?
That is a very good question. There is a series on BBC which is called DCI Banks, and it follows this inspector called Banks. It's in the name, and it's a crime series, and it's very interesting to see how each episode they solve a new case, but there's also a character development that goes on throughout the series, and it's very interesting to see how they do that in the different seasons.
I've never heard of it, but I'm in the United States, so
exactly.
maybe they would show it here. Maybe they do. Amazing. I'm sure I could probably get it. But if anybody has any questions for Jamie, put them in the comments, and we'll answer them. So you don't watch a lot of movies, but what is your favorite movie, if you have one?
My favorite movie? Oh, that's a good one. From the top of my head, I would say Doctor Strange, the first Doctor Strange movie. Mm-hmm. It was the first movie that I saw where I was really engulfed in the story, and the visual effects of that movie are just amazing. They're downright perfect. The way that he has these different kind of force field shields with the all kinds of intricate patterns, the fire circle made of sparks. That was some stuff where I could see that visual effects were not only put in there just to showcase them, but they were actually enhancing the story in a way that I really liked. So that's just me going off of the top of my head, but I would say Doctor Strange. Yeah.
Doctor Strange. It's one of my son's favorites. He loves
that movie.
His favorite movie of all time is Thor Ragnarok, but only because of the music and the big, I mean, it's just an epic,
Oh, let me say an honorable mention goes out to Endgame. You probably have seen it, right?
Yeah.
That was a few great. That was 3 hours, right?
It was an epic.
Yeah. Okay. Very long. So I'll rephrase my statement where I said that you wouldn't watch 8 hours. Perhaps if Endgame was 8 hours, people. Exactly. Yeah. But that one was amazing. The story kept on going, but it kept on being interesting, right? It wasn't a story being stretched out. It was a story that was worthy of 3 hours, and the music and storytelling and all that, it worked together so well. It was very you were really pulled into the story.
Right. Dark Soul Master second channel has arrived. Good to have you, sir. We have a question here from Papa. Jamie, what do you plan on making another short story?
Yes, absolutely. I have a script which is almost done. Well, I would say it's done, but there is some of the dialogue that could use a little bit of refreshing. But yes, there is a script. There is a plan. I have some actors in mind. I have some music in mind. So I really want to work on production this coming year. So I'm definitely working on something. It's going on in the background.
Yep, I was in one of your short films. That
Yeah,
was really fun because it was like, can you do this? And I'm like, yes. And then I'm thinking, I have no idea if I can actually do this. Um,
right.
and then you sent me the script and I thought, well, this can't be that hard. I mean, really. And it took me a few takes to film it. I filmed the whole thing by myself. Nobody else was in the house.
Yeah,
And I thought that it came out well. I thought it worked really well with the story.
it
And then
did.
when I watched the short film, I was like, man, this really fit nicely. It was really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so and I for that one I wrote the script all by myself, just to answer or just to go on the question. For this one, I actually have a co-writer. I have someone with me in the creative process. I have a co-writer. I have a different cameraman, so I will not be filming. I'll just be focusing on directing. Which is really helpful if you can get feedback on your script because it solves some issues that you don't see all by yourself. But if someone else reads the script and thinks, hey, this doesn't make a lot of sense, or I have a question about this that isn't being answered anywhere else in the script, it's so useful to have different people on your team. Yeah.
Definitely. Here's a question from Tony. What different software do you use for post?
Okay, so originally, when I started the Film Empire channel, I used Adobe Premiere Elements. It's a way cheaper version of the Creative Cloud version of Adobe Premiere. Since then, I switched over to HitFilm Pro, which I'm using almost exclusively for post-production because it's so versatile and it has all the tools I really need. I use some Photoshop for some of the if I work on credits or something. If I need special alterations to an image, I'll use Photoshop for that. But for the rest, only hit film. Yeah.
Yeah, and so this is a good follow-up question from Ivan. Why do you choose HitFilm over Premiere?
So that's a very good question. I started out in Premiere Elements, which is a very it's a cheaper version, so it has less of the effects. It's basically a non-linear editor, so you can put clips behind each other and layer some stuff. That's it. There's nothing too fancy about it. And then on Film Riot, which I'm pretty sure you're familiar with, they had a partnership with HitFilm, and they showed off the software and the possibilities of having a compositor. And a compositor was something that I was very interested in because it opens a whole new world of possibilities, layering stuff, adding effects on there. That was some amazing stuff. And then I created some composite shots, exported them, and put them back into Premiere to edit with. But that workflow didn't make sense, so I switched over to HitFilm completely, and that's what I've been doing for a couple of years. Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, I just have to say, I'm so impressed with your English.
Oh yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah,
I've very good at speaking in English. I've got to tell you.
Yeah, so the secondary education that I'm following is bilingual. So the first 3 years of secondary education, most of my teaching was in English. So I've picked up a few things, and I'd like to think that I've learned through the years.
A few.
I still catch myself making some very basic mistakes from time to time, but hey, it works.
Yeah, I'm really impressed. So this is Tipu Tapu? Tipu Tapu? I hope I pronounced that right. Question.
Sure, yeah.
It's kind of hard to find unless someone guru suggests something. We are looking for a free video editing software, the best on Jamie's opinion. Currently, we're using VSDC.
I'm pretty sure that we can both agree on like HitFilm Express.
Yeah, it's free.
It's free. It has some amazing effects. Like you can get the add-on packs, but without the add-on packs, it's an editor and it's a compositor in one. It has some amazing capabilities. It looks a little bit daunting at first when you open up the software for the very first time. I had that exact same experience. I opened it up and I was overwhelmed by all of the different options and buttons. But man, it has so many capabilities if you take the time to look around, to fiddle around with different settings, try stuff out. It's just amazing.
Yeah, and I would I would suggest that as well. The downside to HitFilm Express is that it does require a pretty powerful computer. You need a pretty
Right.
strong computer. You can
Yeah.
still find a computer for under $1,000 American that will run it, no problem, right? But you
Sure.
know, you can't use a computer that's 5 years old, you know, or 10 years old or something like that.
Yeah.
It's probably not going to work. But if you have
Well,
a relatively newer computer, you have a video gaming machine, perfect. I mean,
perfect.
you'll be
Yeah.
able to run it no sweat. If you have
It-
any computer that plays any major video games of today. And I would suggest, and because it is daunting, I agree. When you first open it up and you look at it and you go, oh my gosh. But my Udemy course on HitFilm Express it will take you all the way through every
it covers all of
about
it.
it.
Yeah.
It is a 3.5 hours course that's broken into 71 videos. And those 71 videos are like 3 minutes on average a piece. So it's just little bites at a time. It's very easy to learn. I've had people come back and tell me, oh gosh, I was only going to learn this first part on the editor, but then I thought, well, maybe I'll just watch the first video of the compositor. Well, that was it. Maybe I'll watch the second one. And
You get pulled into all of the possibilities, and I think your course covers it amazingly. I looked at the syllabus that was in there, and it covers everything. So that's just
Right now, I have an after Christmas special of only $9.99 for the whole course, and you can find the coupon code at jayhaynes.com. My website, JAYHAYNES.com. So, and it's there now, and it has an ongoing coupon, but $9.99 is the best that you're gonna get.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's an amazing price for the 71 videos that you're getting, right? Because it's you're able to look back at the videos, and if they're only 3 minutes a piece, they're very easy and bite-sized to get. So that just amazing. Sorry.
Yeah. And I
getting
think
off topic.
After things is
that
hard, Alec.
Perfect. Yeah.
Like he usually is.
He's made some fun comments.
Here's a question, a follow-up question about your new script that you're working on. Is this a new story or is this a sequel to something?
It's a new it's a brand new story. I wrote it from scratch. I was planning on first working on it on my own, and then I asked some other person that I know from acting lessons, hey, do you want to play in this? And then we both started working on the story together. I told him what my plan was, and it eventually evolved into a very long thing. So it's a new story, brand new.
Very, very cool. And Ivan says, I like the pay one time and keep the last version. That's if you buy Pro, or if you buy an add-on to Express, you get to keep that forever, which is really nice because it's not like a subscription.
And if
it goes away if you don't re-up your subscription, you always get to keep the version that you bought. Right.
So that's also what I very much dislike about the Adobe Creative Cloud package. Sure, it works. It's top of the line, right? It works perfectly every time, but it's a subscription service. And with HitFilm, you buy HitFilm Pro, you buy the license, right? And then you get a year of updates. So in the meantime, they update the software. And if the year ends, you get to keep that version of the software, which is very useful because you can decide, okay, I'll stop for this year. I'll work with this version, and if you have some more money later on, you can buy the year of updates again. So that works flawlessly.
Yeah, for sure. Farrah Films has joined us. Hello, Farrah Films. Good to see you.
Hi there.
After Things has a good question. You have done this. You've done a few videos on this topic.
Yeah.
Color grading is still a dark art for me. What is your experience with that?
So color grading is a very interesting part because it can very much change and alter the way that people experience your work, and can seem very, very hard at first. What I do is, you're probably filming in a few different locations under different circumstances, so try to first match your shots in the timeline. I often use like brightness and contrast, stuff like that, a little bit of curves to match the shots relatively to each other. And then you can start grading, looking at what kind of tone am I trying to convey, play a little bit with colors, try different things out. Do you want a little bit of blue here in the shadows, a little bit of green in the shadows? It's those very subtle tweaks that do what you want to ultimately get. So it's trying around, matching your shots to each other so that they seem coherent.
And this is Jamie's channel, Film Empire, and there's a link in the description. And on that channel, he actually does have a few tutorials on color grading. And they're really good because they're very simplified and simple.
Yeah,
so I admit that I'm a terrible color grader as well. So
yeah, so it's a very hard thing. I really want to create a new video in the future that's, as I said, if I want to create some more in-depth tutorials, color grading is definitely on my list. So the last actual tutorial that's named color grading is 2 years ago. It's time for a little bit of refreshing, but I have these. Yeah, but I have these. If you look over there, you can see with the past live streams, there are things called editing streams with the green thumbnails. And in there, I edit videos. I edit actual episodes that go up on my channel. And in there, I also go a little bit. Sorry? Yeah, exactly.
Like this one and this one.
And in there, I actually do all of the live editing, and there's a little bit of color grading in there as well. Right. So there you can see my life process of trying to figure out what I'm trying to do.
Right. Well, color grading is great because, you know, I mean, it's really can be a very effective storytelling device.
Yeah.
And, you know, like in The Matrix, for example, you know, you knew when you were in The Matrix because everything was tinted a little bit green.
Exactly.
When you were in The Matrix, that it wasn't, you know?
Yeah.
Or in, you know, in certain movies where they want to portray this character is good or this character is bad. Every scene that has this character in it is bathed in warm orange colors, and this character is always in cold, you know, or whatever.
And that's how you can foreshadow.
Yeah, with Star Wars, you know, I mean, all of the Jedi were earth tone colors, and all of the Empire stuff was black and white, you know, stark, you know, kind of clean colors. And so
yeah, the sterile look.
And so it goes beyond just making it look nice or making it look cinematic.
Oh,
if Mike Miller was here, he'd shoot me for using that term because he made a big post the other day about cinematic is not a word. And I was like, yeah, it is. I cinematically do things all the time. I cinematically make up a cup of coffee this morning, you know. He's like,
cinematic is an adjective. Yeah.
But you know, not just to make things look better, but to actually tell a story.
No, but it can really positively affect your footage. I shoot footage in like 4K in a very flat color profile, which in post I'm able to bump up the contrast, change around with the curves, and that creates some very nice and crisp looking footage.
Yeah. Well, and this is not populated in my StreamYard. I use StreamYard for the live streams, and I have a list of comments here. It's not populated, but
yeah, I can see it.
Well has said, do you know of any resources that describes what color represent in film? That's a good question. Oh, here it is. Just popped up. There it is.
Oh, yeah, I see it there. Yeah.
So go ahead. Oh. Do you have an answer for that?
Ooh, that's a good question. I saw something. Resources. Yeah, let me look that up because while
you're doing that, I will say that, you know, it's sort of probably, or a lot of it's to taste, you know.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But there's if you go to nofilmschool.com, it's a very interesting blog where they write all kinds of stuff, and you look for the tag color. There are some very interesting articles about which filmmakers use different colors, how they use it. I see here creating emotion with color in cinematography, a 1-minute color correction crash course. That's for Dafter Things and Pawpaw. Why do so many filmmakers use the color red? See, these are very interesting articles that you can read and look at the professionals that do this for a living, see how they approach this kind of stuff.
That's a good resource. I posted
Yeah.
a link to that in the chat room.
Exactly. Yeah, that's it.
Do either of you, that I guess would be mean too, use a gimbal, or is it all handheld / tripod?
Okay. Do you go first or do I go first?
Well, actually, I do have my DJI Osmo,
you have
but
an
I
Osmo?
also have my homemade, you know,
It's amazing.
this. And this actually came from the Frugal Filmmaker. Many of you may recognize it as his. I built it to spec the way he did. I have 2 of them. You can carry it, right? You can hold it. You can grip it this way, you know.
Yeah, it works amazing.
And it works fantastic. It's unbelievably smooth and easy to use. And so even though I have a DJI Osmo, that puppy burns a lot of battery, and it takes a long time to get set up and stuff. And I'm like, man, by the time I get this even just ready, I could already be done if I just grab that. And so I actually made that, but it was on the Frugal Filmmaker channel years ago, and I made that years ago. And it's made out of PVC piping, and I just painted it, and I put some hockey grip tape to get a good grip on it, and it's amazing how smooth it is. So that's actually what I use, and obviously I'll lock things down on a tripod, especially if I need to do some sort of effect on it that requires tracking.
Yeah, right. So what I used to have something like that as well, but recently I gave myself a much needed upgrade, because the thing I built was yours looks just amazing, but the thing I built was not built to any sort of online tutorial. Didn't work that fantastic. I have a camera cage right now, which is a metal cage that goes around your camera, has a handle on top, which is just fantastic, and it has 2 rods sticking out. So I 3D printed a matte box that can go on there. Planning on creating a follow focus, which I can slide on there. So that is for handheld stuff. I have a very nice video tripod, which just works amazing. It's very smooth. And a friend of mine has a DJI Ronin S, which is like the big handheld gimbal, which you can put your camera on. Create some amazing stuff. Planning on using that as well in my next project. So it's a mix.
And you can actually use a tripod for, as sort of steady cam, and it's amazingly effective.
It's always about balancing out your camera, making sure that it takes out the shake of your arm. So if you actually take the tripod, put a camera on top, have the legs down there, and you can hold it just under the camera, the weight of the legs stabilizes your camera. It works great. Yeah.
So what is your preferred video camera?
My preferred video camera, from the ones that I have used, I'm using a Lumix G80, and that it works amazing. It's a small camera. It's a mirrorless camera, so it's a micro 4/3 lens fitting. And it creates some really crisp 4K footage. So that is the one that I'm currently going with, and the camera that I'm planning on using for quite a long time. It's a very much an upgrade from the Panasonic camera that I used before that, which was like a camcorder one.
Right.
Yeah. So my preferred video camera for now that I can buy myself, it's the Lumix G80.
I have a Nikon D3500. It's not a great camera. I bought it for like $150, and I already had the lenses to it. But I usually use my cell phone, actually, which is LG G6, and it shoots in 4K, and it is surprisingly good. And I prefer to shoot in 4K because I want my final product to be in 1080. But
you can downscale.
It gives you a lot of room to do stuff, that you can't do if you shoot in 1080. And my Nikon shoots in 1080.
So. Yeah, so 4K gives you indeed it gives you some room to move around, but you can also just shoot in 4K and then export in 1080. And what your editing software will do is downscale the footage, so it takes 4 pixels and merges that into 1 pixel, which in 1080 gives you just a little bit more sharpness because it takes some of the noise out. So
And it looks really good. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So it just works great.
Frank is in the house. Howdy, Frank, Spider Hank, and Lumpy Den. I also built one of them cages from Frugal Filmmaker, and yes, they do work well. I have 2 of them. Like I said, does anybody know what happened to him? He moved to Alaska. That's what happened to him. He moved to Alaska. His wife got a great job in Alaska. She's a medical professional, and so he's out there in the middle of nowhere. And his goal was to find people and or who are already interested in filmmaking and or inspire people who he meets to get interested. And it was a small town, and there's not a lot of summer there. A lot of winter, and so on and so forth. And I just don't think he was ever able to make it happen. And it's really unfortunate because I thought he was a very, very talented guy, and he had a great personality and that kind of stuff. So, look at that. I'm from Fairbanks. I have no idea. That's a good question. I don't know where in Alaska he moved.
No, I don't. I don't know.
The Frugal Filmmaker Facebook page is still very active. And I'm a member of that. And then his channel's still there. He just doesn't post to it anymore. It hasn't for years, I don't think. But that's a good question. I have absolutely no idea. But it's good to have you. Rabuswell, maybe? I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
Rabuswell?
It is, we've been on for 36 minutes.
I see.
It's hard to believe.
Exactly. Time flies when you're having fun.
I know. So we'll ask one more time if anybody has any other questions for Jamie. It's so good to have you. I'm so glad you were able to make it.
Yeah, it's amazing to be on here. Second time, loving it.
All right. Oh, we have a question. Here we go. What was the last thing you did in hit film?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm also doing some stuff outside of my YouTube channel for video work, and I was asked to create a video of which was a synchronized swimming. It's not really a contest, but it was a day of like synchronized swimming, and they had a show which they wanted me to film. So that's probably the last thing that I edited in hit film. It's like 1.5 hours long. That's a lot to render in 4K. I'll have you know that.
Yeah.
it took a couple of hours, and the computer probably took a little bit of a hit with its fans running full speed.
Wow. I'll show you what I was working on this morning, which is my tutorial for next Friday. I guess you could call this a sneak peek. Let me see if I can drag it in here and you'll see it. Oh, I don't even know if I have the audio on. I don't think I have the audio on. I might have the audio on. Guess we'll find out. I'm going to drag this in here, but this is an 8
for the Film Sensei YouTube channel. Today in this video, we are going to do this aging effect using all free software.
So there's what we're going to do. We're going to use film and 2 other free pieces of software to make that.
That looked very promising. That looked very realistic.
My wife,
I was kind of scared.
My wife, and she about threw up,
Yeah. Well, tough luck.
Courtney is in the house. Sensei Shenanigans. That would be me. Thank you. Thanks, Frank. It's going to be a good tutorial. That will come out on Friday. I have not actually made the tutorial yet, but I will fairly quickly. All right, let's do a couple of maybe one more question here. Any ideas you have for improvement in hit film being implemented?
I am very quickly just going into my email so I'm not sure if I can hear myself.
Can you?
Yeah, I can. Maybe if you turn down the volume just a little bit, it will be fixed.
Go ahead.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. So I'm a beta tester for FX Home, which means that I get the latest pieces of software that I can, test stuff like that. Um, I'm not sure if there are any actual features, but there are some bugs that were in there that I sent to them. So I'm not sure if I was the only one that sent them. There were probably some other people that did too.
Are you talking about
So
for HitFilm 14.1 Pro?
no, for there are other versions. I believe I was on board since what version? Hitfilm Express 2017. I see here. So that's since a long time. Yeah. So there are some minor changes, not any suggested improvements, but some bugs that were fixed.
Yeah, there's a handful of small things that are going on that need some attention.
Some tweaking.
Little things though. They're not major big things, but like some hotkeys aren't working properly and little stuff like that.
Yeah, and for people that do have those problems, I recommend you contact the technical support. You can just go to, I believe it's just fxhome.com, which
absolutely.
should
if you have a major problem, you can always send a ticket, right? You can actually fill out a ticket on their website.
Absolutely, and they're very helpful. So if you have a problem, let them know. They will be eager to help you.
Yep, absolutely. If you have questions, you can always go to the forum and ask, and then they will whatever.
Yeah, you can also go.
What would I suggest that they do? I would like to see better ray tracing and light interaction on models.
Right.
Like right now, if you really want to get super high quality, you would use something like Blender or better would be Frank's Filmer to mix and render past certain shadows and light interaction reflections and things like that through Blender, which is Filmer is like a special version of Blender that allows you to export to HitFilm, and then you export those render passes and bring them in, and it just makes such beautiful models. They just come to life, right?
Right.
So it'd be nice if we could have more of better quality of that in HitFilm natively.
Yeah, that would be very nice. Yeah, something that in the past I would have liked to see was better tracking, but hey, we have the Foundry tracker now, which I used, and honestly, it works like a charm. It tracks like an absolute charm. Yeah,
it's astonishingly good. Yeah. Here, Ivan asks, can you explain how 24 frames per second is better than 25 and 30 frames per second, and can normal people see the difference? What do you think?
So that's very much up to taste. Basically, if you have a lower frame rate, well, up to a certain level, of course, 24 frames, you have much more motion blur than, say, 60 frames or even 120 frames per second. So if I move my hand like this, you can see that there is some motion blur because my frame rate is not that high in this connection. And the difference between 24, 25, and 30 is very small, but the difference between 24 and 60 frames per second is definitely noticeable, because the higher your frame rate gets, the more the closer it gets to real life, right? So it's all about the motion blur and how it gets perceived by a camera.
Yep, and actually Terry has nailed this. He says that 24 frames per second is not necessarily any better, but it gives a more cinematic feel to the motion. and the reason is because that's how you're used to seeing movies. And movies originally when they first discovered how to, or invented and created the idea of making a motion picture, they realized that 12 frames per second was the bare minimum that you had to go before it didn't look, it looked totally unreal. So they started with 12 frames per second. And then somebody at some point said, well, I'm just going to double it. I think we need to go up. And so they decided to double that number, so that way they could take old films and just double every frame and it would still
Yeah.
work, right? It would still be the same speed. And so that's how 24 frames per second became a thing, right?
And since that, what we're used to from cinemas, 24 is the well,
And that's
probably
cinematic,
sure.
quote unquote.
Yeah, I'll probably sure. Yeah, Mike will kill me if I say cinematic, but hey, I'll do it anyway. Yeah, so that's what we're very much used to.
He's in Ireland. He's not that far from you.
Oh my goodness, I
might
better
come
watch
over
out.
to your house, you know.
Yeah, he'll just walk over the water. Yeah, so 30 frames per second is quite close to 24, but it's not quite there. So 30 frames per second for YouTube videos, perfectly fine.
Right, right. And so Frank says we can fake path tracing in hit film, and it looks very real. And Frank has actually thrown up on the forums a bunch of examples of that, and they really do look real. And he keeps teasing that he's going to show us how he faked those, but
It's a
he
secret.
has not yet. And
It's a
so,
secret.
you know. Here's Tony says a liquefy effect would be great. What do you think about that? A liquefy effect.
That's very interesting, and I think that it very much could serve a purpose in some specific shots.
Specific being the key word.
Yeah, exactly. It's not something that I would use every day, but especially for Dafter Things, who does a lot of animation stuff, Liquify can be a very useful tool to manipulate different frames, make them matching, make subtle things move. So yeah, I get why he suggests that effect.
Sure. And you know, 18 frames per second was toyed with for a while, especially in the home movies.
Well, here it says that's why people walked funny in those. That's because they're often played back faster than they're supposed to be played
or
back.
slower, because those were hand cranked. So
exactly.
You know, sometimes, you know, when things got exciting, they would crank faster than they were supposed to, and then, you know, and so.
But if you take,
that makes it harder to figure out exactly, you know, it was really the original variable frame rate.
Exactly, yeah, and that's a hell to work with. But if you have a 12 frames per second movie and you play it back on 24 frames per second, it's twice as fast. You can do the math. And if you play some of the old Charlie Chaplin movies back, play them twice as fast, then they look very funny. If you play them at half the speed, of course you're lacking some of the smoothness, but it looks much more realistic than if you play it back twice the speed or normal speed.
Yeah. And there's been some recent software and applications that have taken that footage and actually figured out what it was actually filmed at.
It's called, I believe that Adobe has some stuff in there as well. The effect's called frame interpolation, which interpolates the frames, the missing frames, and it has some very good results. But sometimes if you're trying to push that effect to its limits, it's trying to create multiple frames in between. It's going to have some very weird shape-shifting shenanigans going on there.
Exactly. Frank says he promises to get that to it, you know, to actually show us how he faked those. But we won't believe it until we see it, Frank. I'm just saying, cool like melting a person. That's right. Liquefy is a selfish request. My figures could smile, frown, raise an eyebrow.
Yeah,
so
see, that's exactly what I was thinking about.
Yeah, Tony does brick films, you know, stop motion Lego.
Yeah, some amazing stuff. Yeah.
Oh, they're awesome. They're so fun.
Yeah, they're amazing.
I look forward to watching them.
Yeah.
But yeah, you could do, you know,
you can do little bits and bobs.
The puppet
and
effect
move them
could
around.
sort of do that, but the puppet effect is pretty cumbersome. It's still a work in progress as far as.
Well, that would mean that you would have, if you try to use the puppet effect, you would probably have to mask out a certain part of the smile, composite that back in, and do the actual warping on there. If you have the liquefy effect, which would be like a subcategory of the puppet tool, you can directly on there morph it probably just a little bit better than the puppet tool would.
Right. Yeah. Like I said, the you know, mesh, almost like a mesh warp. That's right.
Yeah. Very close to that.
Yeah. So, but I think that that's what I'm saying when I say that it's still sort of a work in progress. The puppet tool, you can't like actually attach to any points.
No, that's a shame.
Because if you could do that, it would really, really help.
Yeah, you could
the
make
new,
like
the new plugins for HitFilm Pro 14 include the Saber, from Video Copilot.
yeah.
But you have to hand animate those because they're not attached to the, you can't like attach them to a point or anything like that.
No, so those are external plugins, and I hope that the FX Home team in the future sees a way where they could actually link the effect, the external effect, and the points system inside of HitFilm. Yeah, sometimes there are things where I think, oh, it would be really nice if I could link this to a point, have multiple things linked to that same point, and have and have that work together in a coherent structure.
Right. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, there's your answer. The software that you do use, which whatever it is pretty good because they come out really well.
Oh,
I mean,
they're amazing.
I think they look really well. Well, I think it has been 50 minutes now.
Yeah, I see.
Which means we better wrap this up. So,
yes,
Jamie, I want to thank you for being here. I really
appreciate so much for having me. Yeah, thanks for having me.
It has been a pleasure. Let me remind everybody again that Jamie's channel is youtube.com/Film Empire, and there's a link in the description below. Go check out his channel. He's making a new short film this year, so should be
next year.
Next year, 2020.
2020.
Oh, hello, Bazio. Good to have you, sir. You're just a little late. Yeah. And is it
Tipu Tapu?
Tipu Tapu? All right, I'm going to go with Tipu Tapu.
Sure.
Definitely, we are doing another live stream. I do one every Saturday. And I do have a special, let me solo myself here. I am delighted to announce who we have coming up, which is will be next Saturday, January 4th at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. I am delighted to announce that my special guest will be Javert Valbar from FX Home, who are the makers of HitFilm. And I'm also delighted to announce that he will be bringing a friend. And his friend is the CEO and founder of FX Home, Josh Davies, will be with us on this Saturday, 1 week from today, same bat time, same bat channel. So I am excited to have them on. We're going to talk about HitFilm. We're going to talk about Emerge. We're going to talk about Action Pro and all of the other things that are going on with FX Home. And we'll see if they spill any beans or anything like that.
That's just amazing. That's amazing.
I'm sure they probably won't, but it's going to be really fun anyway. They are wonderful people to talk with and work with. So think about your questions now and get them ready for next week. Jamie, thank you again for being here. I really appreciate it.
I wish everyone at home the best new year that you can possibly have. And I'll see you sometime in the future.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, everybody, for watching.
Bye.